Hello, this is Chris Brett from Eurogamer, and you're about to watch a chat that I had last week with Arsenault from the Creative Assembly. Now, he works on the battle AI within Total War games, and had just done a talk on how sieges, specifically in Total War Warhammer, will work differently to those we've seen in previous Total War games. Now, if you'd like to watch the full talk, there'll be a link to that in the description or whatever below. I use this chat to kind of summarize what I think are the key points into a shorter, more condensed thing, less to do with the kind of design principles and more to do with what it'll look like from the perspective of a player. So there's that. And if you wait till the end of the video, you can actually watch a siege featuring some brand new gameplay narrated by Andre, and he kind of talks through what we've just been discussing in relation to what's actually happening on screen. So that's pretty useful. Hope you like it, and yeah, thank you for watching. Hello, this is Chris Brett from Eurogamer, joined by Andre Arsenault from the Creative Assembly. You are the lead battle AI programmer. Yes, there we are.
That's right.
That's a lot of words for a job title. And I just watched you do a talk here as about the CGI in Total War Warhammer, and the fact that I think one of the things you said during the end of the talk was that this time around it's remarkably different than any other Total War game that we've seen so far.
That's right.
All right, cool. Why is it remarkably different?
Sure.
That's where we can kick off.
Well, the main reason it's different is that we had a very different set of design goals when we approached the siege battles this time around.
Is this because the Warhammer has like giants and flying eunuchs and magic and...
Yes, that's part of the reason.
Right.
Yeah, and also our game director just wanted a very different style of battle. We felt that in the previous games, while historically accurate, they were a bit ponderous and slow, and we wanted to pick up the pace and have you really feel like the power of the new fantastic units from the fantasy battles. So we took a different approach where instead of absolutely surrounding the city on all sides and then bombarding the city, trying to do a lot of damage before you even start engaging with your main units, you're under fire immediately. So when you're deploying as an attacker, the defender has towers on the walls and you cannot be outside of their range. They will always hit you.
Wow, that is
so
new. Yep.
You're under pressure right away. You have to move up to the walls as quickly as possible to disable those towers, otherwise they're just going to pick your army to pieces. So it's a really different approach in order to emphasize that gameplay and put the gameplay on the walls themselves and make it about holding the wall, and if you fail and they start pouring over, then you're on your way to losing the battle, right? There isn't that long protracted street battle within the city.
Yeah.
So we're trying to focus it on the walls, and I think the new mechanics really changed how we had to approach the AI, because we couldn't go with that deliberate phased approach of assaulting a walled city anymore, because you're under assault right away. You have to use all of your unit's capabilities simultaneously. So what we did is we took all of that great code that we had from before, and we started breaking up into pieces, little modules that we can run simultaneously. So we kind of look at the units available, decide what their strengths are, and start doing it right away.
Sure.
So we don't sit around and wait for a while, because you'll get picked apart.
One of the things you showed, and it was interesting actually to hear you talk through the gameplay that you revealed at the talk, and like exactly what the units are doing and kind of what patterns they're falling into, and the fact that for the first time the AI can actually hold back units as reserves during a siege. Do you want to explain how that works?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so since we have multiple tactics running simultaneously with different units allocated to each, they're not all guaranteed to succeed, right? So you need to have a plan B sometimes, and like, crap, what if those towers don't make it to the walls? What if they get destroyed? So instead of taking all of the units in the army and saying, all right, this is our plan, we're just going to go execute it kind of regardless of what the player does, we hold some of those units back, and then we monitor the progress of the existing tactics.
And see where they can slot in.
Yeah, so there's a lot more coordination going on now. So if one tactic is going poorly, maybe we should bolster it if we've got appropriate units that can help out. Or maybe it's kind of doomed and we'll leave it alone, and then when another tactic succeeds, we'll just exploit that one instead.
Right, cool. Yeah, there was a moment during the gameplay where there were 2 siege towers on the chaos side, attacking vampire counts, and one of the siege towers is destroyed, and that unit, like you were talking through the fact that its rule set would then switch over to the other siege tower, and it would like once that one is in place, they would try and use that to get up onto the wall.
Yeah, exactly. That's one tactic that has multiple groups within it, each of which is trying to dock a siege tower at a target wall. And if one fails, the units in that failed group can fall over to the other tactic, which thankfully did succeed, and then they can both use the same siege tower to get up there.
Sure. In the past, like I mean, myself, we've talked about the siege battles in Total War games, and sometimes it's like, why aren't the defending AI making best use of the walls, or why are they doing this? And it's not quite as simple as like attack and defense. There are all these different kinds of attacks going on within that now.
Definitely.
Is that going to be obvious to the player without a developer there being like, oh, and this is happening now, and like this is why they're doing these things?
That's a good question. I certainly hope so.
Right.
But if you don't have the development tools turned on, then you can't answer the question for yourself, why? So as a player, you kind of pass your own judgment.
Sure.
And you're like,
it just as long
it
as
did something cool, or maybe it did something stupid.
or logical, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that varies from player to player, right? We all kind of make up the story of the game in our heads as to what's going on and why it's happening.
But you're happier with the story that's going to be told in those battles now?
I think
because of the
so,
way it's
yeah.
set up?
There's a lot going on, and it tries to make reasonable decisions as it can. But as I explained in the talk, it's quite detailed. There's a lot going on. So, we do the best we can, and it's actually a really challenging opponent right now. It's quite a lot of fun.
Sure. Just to wrap up with another thing that you mentioned as well as like the enemy AI, like using reserves and thinking about different tactics. If you're attacking a siege and you have an ally that comes into play, in the past Total War games, as far as I understand, they will be doing their own sort of siege and their own they're doing something that is using their units in an individual way, and sure, you'll meet up at some point and it will benefit each other. But here in Total War Warhammer, the friendly AI is actually trying to follow the lead of the player.
Yeah, to a limited extent, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah, in some ways, and especially in some existing battle modes, the AI follows its own plan, right? And because trying to coordinate with a player is actually quite tricky.
Right.
And if you try to guess the player intent, you get it wrong.
Then it looks really weird. Yeah.
So, but we have made some effort, especially with the reinforcing AI attacking in sieges when they're reinforcing a player. Actions that the players take, whether they dock a siege tower or place some ladders or destroy a gate, that's immediately noticed by the reinforcing AI. Right. And so they're like, oh, cool, there's a tower
there's
there.
now an entry point
it's
to
allied, and I can use it.
siege,
Yeah.
Cool.
So when the AI has its units in reserves and it's looking for what should I do with these, it'll notice that the player has done something that it can use as well, and it'll help you out. It'll use the entry points that you've created.
That sounds good. Cool. So final question, like for people in the past that have played, recent historical Total War games and thought, like the sieges can sometimes be a little bit inconsistent at times in terms of what the enemy AI is doing. Do you think they're going to be happier with the way that Total War Warhammer is handling that?
Yeah, I certainly hope so. It definitely plays differently, both on attack
Remarkably
and defense.
differently.
Remarkably, I think those are my exact words, yes. Some of the core systems are certainly the same.
Cool.
So while it is remarkably different, it's also familiar.
Right.
So yeah, I think people will really enjoy it. And we made some underlying systems, and the way that we developed it as a team also changed, so that we weren't quite taken off guard when a design choice feeds back to the AI team. We're like, oh crap, can't do that. Right. So we're working a lot closer with the teams to make sure that we don't get caught off guard by design changes. And that's worked out really well, and has actually led us to be able to influence the game design to play well with the AI. And this is something that the AI can do great. Cool. Well, maybe we can make a tweak to the design, and then there you go. Like we'll make that feature easier to use and better for the AI as well. So.
All right. Good. Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thanks. Awesome. Appreciate it. Thanks, Chris. So the battle that we're about to watch highlights of has an attacking Chaos army controlled by the AI against a player-controlled Vampire Accounts army. And everything that you're going to see here was recorded in a custom battle without any DLC, so you can play this day one. So if you take a close look, you'll see that the AI is divided up into groups. We have a wall breach tactic on the left, a gate assault in the center, and a wall assault on the right. And then just around the corner here, we have another wall assault kind of sneaking up the side. So you'll notice that those defensive towers are already firing. And as we get down a bit closer, we can see that they're firing because the Vampire Accounts have assigned some units to occupy the walls nearby. You see that yellow outline? That's a capture point specifically for that one tower. It wouldn't fire if you didn't have a unit standing within that box. So here a tower managed to take out one of the Chaos towers, and you'll see the men fleeing from the inside of that tower. Now at this point, that's a group within a wall assault tactic, and that group has failed. So we can take the unit from that group and reassign it to a different group within the same tactic. And then if it cascades from there and the whole tactic fails, then we'll have to reallocate them to the reserves and figure out where else they go. But in this case, we get lucky. The tower is actually docked successfully, and you can see that other unit sneaking up through the back. The Warriors of Chaos here are piling out very quickly, and you'll see that as a sharp contrast to how the ladders work shortly. So they've piled in here against some of the vampire units. You can see them taking advantage of the slightly wider walls, being able to pile in around the back and get a bit of a flanking bonus. Man, these guys look cool. I'm totally playing Chaos when this comes out. All right, here we go with the gate assault tactic, led by a giant Chaos Giant and supported by some infantry units. So these guys are advancing in formation, right? They're moving to the staging location for the gate assault. And we'll skip ahead briefly here. Once they reach that gate staging formation, we make that calculation of which unit in the tactic is the most appropriate one to attack the gates. And of course it's the giant, because he's freaking badass. The infantry unit peels off. You'll notice them going for the walls on the side. They're doing that tactical coordination process of spawning a new wall assault near the gate assault so that they can place and climb the ladders. You'll see that a spellcaster snuck in the back there, and he actually dropped a fire spell on the other side of the walls to whittle down the defenders. And here you see the attackers cresting the walls. You notice the difference, it's not quite as aggressive as those guys piling out of the siege tower. So coming out to the wall breach tactic that was on the far left of the field, here we've got 3 Chaos Hell Cannons. And you may have noticed they were flanked by cavalry, and they have some melee infantry in the front. So they obviously have a nice firing arc, and we can place infantry in the front to protect them while firing over their heads at a single wall target. It takes a little while, so we'll check back in on them in a little moment, but we can also see here that even though the vampire accounts have melee defenders on the wall, they're not able to exchange ranged fire, but they are powering up those towers nearby, allowing them to shoot at the hell cannons. Here we've got the Chaos Giant. It managed to break through the gates. It's about to come in and give these guys a really bad day. Yeah, that's not going to go well for them. You can even see in the distance that there's some heavy cavalry coming in to support that attack. Just laying waste to those poor skeletons. Who cares about skeletons? They're already dead, right? Here comes the cavalry on the charge. Giant having a nice snack. And then some Chaos Spawn decide to come in and exploit that same entry point. So that gate, now that it's been busted down, is an accessible entry point. Any units that are in the reserves can now be allocated to it. We kind of prefer to allocate units that are cavalry, for example, through those types of entry points because they can't exploit the wall assaults. So here, going back to the Hell Cannons, they've managed to take the wall down, create a nice fat breach. So the units that were part of that wall breach tactic, such as the cavalry and its supporting infantry, are now immediately placed into the entry point for that particular tactic. So we took the guys that were supporting the cannons, and they're the first to rush through. They get to experience the reward of the entry point that they helped create. So they come in and engage some of the Grave Guard units here. You can see that the artillery in the back, they're still firing. They've been moved to the reserves tactic at this point, and they're taking pot shots at targets of opportunity.
And at this point, Andre ran out of gameplay and the talk sort of wrapped up. So yeah, hopefully you got something out of that. And if you'd like to check out any of the other videos we've done around Total War Warhammer, we've done quite a bit. We've covered this game pretty extensively so far. You can find some links right here. And yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.